What's happening in Los Angeles right now is a direct result of an administration that has no idea how to lead or no interest in leading and only knows how to be cruel. This is a response to cruelty. And while I do not condone people being violent, people setting fire to a place that already has an issue with fires, I think that that is so far beyond anything we need to be doing to actually create effective change. I'm also a person who understands the reality of the situation and that when you push people so far, they're going to respond. And that's just how it goes. That's human behavior. And in most situations, all of us would understand that. But right now we have two very different sides of the opinion of what should or shouldn't be happening in Los Angeles, about how the administration should or should not be responding, how people in the communities should or should not be responding to unidentified masked men rounding people up in the streets, kidnapping them without any paper, any reason, any response. We don't know who these people are. We don't know that they're federal agents. We don't know that they aren't just some random militias that decided they wanted to round up brown people for Trump. We don't know because they're not identifying themselves. They're masking themselves up. They're going out into the streets and they're kidnapping people. And we've already had a situation where a group of people were kidnapped off the streets and shipped off to a foreign terrorist prison to be tortured and to die, basically. And there was no due process. There was no nothing to actually prove that these men deserved to go where they went. It was completely unconstitutional. It was blocked by the courts. And right now we have men coming back, being sent back because the administration knows that they messed up. And they won't admit that. Instead, they want to be cruel and mock these people on the White House Twitter page and actually make a mockery of this entire situation and laugh about the fact that they are being cruel to human beings, not giving them due process and shipping them off unconstitutionally. And so if we know that that's happening after people are getting rounded up in the streets, how are we going to respond and react when these masked men come into our communities and they start kidnapping our community members? How would you react? If you think that how these protesters, how these community members in Los Angeles, if you think that they are out of control, if they are reacting inappropriately, I'm asking you what you would do, how you would respond if you were out shopping for home decor and you see a group of men who are masked just rounding up people in the store and kidnapping them, taking them out. No identification, no badge. How would you react? If your sibling, your parent, your nanny, your gardener, your colleague, your boss, your best friend, your child, if they were walking down the road and a group of people came up and tried to kidnap them and shove them in a van and take them who knows where, would you not respond with anger and do whatever you could to rescue that person, to protect them? That's what you do. That's what you do in a community. That's why you have a community, to help those who are in your community, to make sure that they are safe, to watch out for one another. And when people who support Trump and his policies, especially when it comes to immigration, when they say things like, we're fine with immigrants coming over here as long as they do it the right way. They need to go through the proper channels. They need to do it the right and legal way. I agree. Do it the right way. That's a good rule. And in the same breath, I would say that those who are going and rounding people up and shipping them off need to also be doing things the right way, the constitutional way, the way we've always done it, with due process, with identification. Why are they hiding their faces? Trump said it himself. Why are these protesters hiding their faces if they have nothing to hide? Why are his men hiding their faces if they have nothing to hide, if they're doing the right thing, the legal thing? When a community is shaken up like this, you have people stealing community members from their homes, from stores, from their jobs. People who have lived in these communities for years, who have children that go to school with their fellow American citizens, their neighbors. They work with American citizens. They work for American citizens. They stimulate our economy. They pay in to the system that they don't receive benefits from. They don't receive Medicaid. They don't receive SNAP, but they pay into it. A lot of people don't realize that immigrants, even undocumented immigrants, they contribute a lot to our economy, and they don't take very much at all. They're not qualified to take. They don't get Social Security. They don't get Medicaid. They don't get SNAP. But they set up EINs and they pay their taxes because they know that if they're here and they're undocumented and they're working, then they should be paying their taxes. They buy things. They contribute to state taxes, local taxes. They stimulate our economy. And they come here most of the time for a better life. That's what you get when you prop yourself up as the best. What do you think is going to happen when you walk around town telling everybody that you're the best, you're the greatest? You go around the world and you say America is number one. America is the best nation in the world. America is the land of opportunities. Anyone can come to America and live the American dream. When you go around telling the world that, what do you think is going to happen? People are going to want to come here. And then you make it very difficult for them to do so. And sometimes people come because they need to save themselves. They need to save their children. They need to provide for their family, and they can't do that where they live. And so they come to the land of opportunity. And they work jobs that a lot of other Americans don't want to work, receiving a very low pay, poor regulations, no benefits, paying taxes most of the time. If they get assaulted, they're afraid to report it because they don't want to get deported. If they are struggling and they need assistance, too bad, they don't get benefits, they're not qualified for that. But they contribute so much. Think about this. We have undocumented immigrants that come here and pay taxes that American citizens benefit from. And then those American citizens will get angry and say, I don't want my tax dollars going to these immigrants. The immigrants are sending their tax dollars to you and they're getting nothing from it. They can go to a hospital. I can go to a hospital and I still don't have health care. The idea that these people are criminal just for being on our soil and not being from here or born here, it doesn't make any sense to me. They're human beings. Humans are humans. Being human is not criminal. Crossing a border is it should not be a crime. At least not one that is so severely punished that you would ship someone off to a terrorist prison. By the way, Kilmar Abrego Garcia was not, they have nothing on him to say that he was a gang member, that he committed any violent crimes. They worked so hard to convince the public that he was a violent gang member who deserved what he got, only to bring him back here and slap a smuggling charge on him because he had some undocumented migrants in his vehicle? That's not a violent crime. If this man was so terrible and so violent and deserving of being shipped off to a foreign terrorist prison, well, they surely would have been able to stick some charges on him that were more than just some smuggling charge. A phony charge to make it seem like he's a criminal when he's not. They ripped a father from his children and his wife and his home and sent him to a foreign prison to be tortured and killed. And thankfully he's back. But they didn't want to bring him back. They had no intention of doing that because cruelty is the point. In Los Angeles, the governor said, we've got this under control. They're peaceful protests. Yeah, we get a little, people get a little crazy every now and then. It happens. But it's peaceful. We don't need you to escalate the situation by sending in the National Guard. these places that they're sending ICE to raid and kidnap people, or if it's ICE at all, we don't know because they don't identify themselves. But the places they're sending them to do it are sanctuary cities. The party of states' rights is now going against the states' rights to do what they want about their own immigration communities, their own immigrant communities, because their entire community is made up of immigrants. And those communities also have American citizens. And we're a melting pot. They become friends. They become colleagues, neighbors. They count on one another. They help one another. They're contributing members of society. And we act like they have committed this terrible crime that's so harmful, that's so deserving of cruelty, of being kidnapped off the street and living in fear for their lives and what's going to happen to them. A lot of people come over here because they're fleeing violence from their home country, and we're just going to ship them back just because they're here and we don't like it. And Americans have been convinced that they are using and abusing our system, when really they're contributing to our economy. They're contributing to our social programs that coincidentally are also being cut. They're taking our SNAP, they're taking our Medicaid, at least they're trying to. They're trying to vote on it. They're trying to pass it. We got to think about this, guys. Like, really think about this. We have people who fully understand why LA is acting the way it's acting, or reacting the way it's reacting, why things are getting out of control. We have people who think that these people are crazy. What are they doing? They're destroying their city because they want illegal people to live here. And then you have people in the middle. And that's a lot of Americans who don't really have much of an opinion because they're not that informed. But I've noticed that centrists, people right in the middle, tend to lean right and tend to fall for the right-wing propaganda more so than leaning left. And that's very dangerous, because we're talking about everyday average Americans that are not hateful people, that are not racist, that if you were to give them an individual situation of an immigrant in need who is a good person and not a criminal, they probably would not hold the same harsh opinions that those people should be just shipped off without due process. But they fall for the propaganda. So they hear that immigrants are taking our jobs, when really immigrants boost the workforce. They're hearing that immigrants are committing all these crimes and making our streets more dangerous, when data shows time and time again that native-born American citizens commit higher rates of crime, higher rates of violent crime than undocumented immigrants do. And that most undocumented immigrants are not criminals, are not committing crimes, because they came here to better their lives, not to cause problems. And they know that if they cause any problem at all, they're going to get shipped back. That's just common sense. And so when you fall for this propaganda and you believe that they're criminals, they're hurting our economy, they're hurting, our cities, these things aren't true. The opposite is true. They're taking our tax dollars. No, they're paying into our system, and they're not receiving the same benefits that American citizens are. And right now, the GOP is also voting to take these same benefits from American citizens. This is cruelty for the point of cruelty. And I was disgusted and appalled when I heard Trump at a press conference talking about how they have to get this under control because we will not tolerate this in America. We will not tolerate people assaulting our police officers. He said, did you see that? They were throwing rocks at police officers. Trump pardoned the traitors that stormed our Capitol building on January 6th and assaulted police officers. The video footage is there. You can see it with your own eyes. He pardoned those people. You don't get to say that those were just radical left paid protesters that were pretending to be right wing to make them look bad because Trump pardoned them. Trump celebrates them. Trump celebrates the violence that took place against police officers on January 6th. This is not a consistent leader, and it's not a leader at all. A leader de-escalates. A leader finds out what he's supposed to do, or she is supposed to do, to protect the people, to keep things orderly and safe, and to make sure everybody is free and has their rights and that the Constitution is upheld. But instead, Trump intentionally sends ICE raids into sanctuary cities in an attempt to drive fear into the hearts and minds of people in the communities, including American citizens. And then against the governor's wishes, against the mayor's wishes, when the mayor is saying things are peaceful and we have things under control, against their wishes, sends in the National Guard, now sending in Marines. This is not necessary. It's unconstitutional. And all it does is escalates the situation when you've already pushed people so far and you're not listening to them, but you're pushing them more. And they're saying, well, we're not pulling back ICE. ICE is going in again. They're raiding again. That's intentional escalation of the conflict. And that is not what a good leader does. They de-escalate. But Trump wants a fight. That's what he wants. He wants us to respond. He wants to push us so far that we react. And we have to stay calm. We have to stay peaceful and not get violent. But we also have to understand that this is inevitable if they continue pushing. That people are going to respond. People are getting angry. Prices are high. Nothing's getting fixed. And if anything, things are getting more chaotic, just like last time, because we know when Trump is president, chaos ensues constantly because he thrives on it. He didn't make things cheaper or easier. He's not making life better. He's intentionally trying to stoke fear in communities. He's trying to make us afraid, make us bow down to him. And if we don't, we are deserving of severe punishment. I am asking you to please stand up against this, to resist this administration, and forget your politics. And think about what's best for all of us. Think about what it means to be a human, to live in this world, to exist. And forget about these invisible lines and these boundaries that we place. This red and this blue, this black and white, this hard line between us that is keeping us from coming together to resist this authoritarian fascist regime. We are Americans. We all deserve freedom and security and safety, and to use our voice and to stand up for the vulnerable, stand up for those who are marginalized, who are being harmed, who aren't bad people, who aren't criminals. And to combat the propaganda and to educate and inform and keep talking about this. Annoy everyone. Annoy everyone. I know people get annoyed by me and what I'm doing here. I got distracted because there's this like little family of turkeys. I don't know if you can see, but there's like a little baby back there. Anyway, I'm distracted. Oh, look at the babies. Oh, you can't see, but anyway, I have so much on my heart to say, and I have so many feelings, and this entire situation has got me really frazzled because I don't handle this chaos well. It is emotionally taxing, it is terrifying, and it's also incredibly frustrating that there are so many Americans that would laugh and call me a liberal snowflake because I have feelings and compassion and I care about others, and I don't care if someone is brown. I don't care if someone is not American. I don't care if someone doesn't have legal paperwork, if they are not a criminal, if they are not a bad person, and if they are contributing positively to the society, the communities that we live in, then I welcome them here. And it's frustrating to be the atheist ex-Christian saying that to a world full of people who claim Jesus and Christianity and completely forget what Jesus said in Matthew 25, I believe it was, when he said, I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty, you gave me water. What are you doing, Christians? What are you doing, Christian America? Is Jesus just your prop, or are you going to actually follow his words? Despite what King Trump wants you to do and think, are you going to think for yourself? Or are you just going to keep following your dear leader wherever he goes and defending this unconstitutional power grab in the United States that is quickly, very rapidly spiraling into fascism? First they came for the immigrants, and you're going to be fine with that. And then they're going to start coming for everyone else, because MAGA will not stop at just getting rid of all the immigrants. They are gearing up to demonize anyone who doesn't fit inside their perfect white nationalist Christian box. They're going to come after people like me, liberals, Democrats. They're going to come after anyone who speaks out against the administration, even if they voted for Trump but don't like what he's doing. They're going to come after people who aren't the right flavor of Christianity, people of other religions. It's not going to stop at immigrants, guys. It's just not. We have to resist this. We have to persist. We have to keep using our voice, and we have to do whatever it takes to stop them. And if that means getting in the streets every single day, that's what we're going to have to do. Los Angeles is responding to cruelty. And I can't say that I blame them for that. I want them to stop being violent. Violence is not the answer. It doesn't help. It doesn't fix anything, and it doesn't draw people into your cause. And if anything, it's pushing centrists further right. So I'm asking you, if you are participating in protests in this upcoming June 14th event that's going on nationwide, I'm asking you to please participate, but I'm asking you to stay peaceful. Do not get violent. And just keep resisting.